And yes, it is creepy, but that's sort of awesome.
Yeah.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
This episode of SinCast is brought to you by NatureBox. Get 3 free snacks with your first order. Just visit naturebox.com/SinCast and use code SINS. All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Huzzay!
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Share.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
We've got all the weird hellos today.
I said huzzay. I don't even think that's a word.
It's not. It really isn't. But it is now. It is now.
Huzzay!
That's right. It'll be in the Urban Dictionary. And then
Right alongside Wet Wedgie.
that's
Okay,
right.
so now Wet Wedgie actually has a legit entry now.
Oh, really?
Not just referencing the Sins video. Somebody went and wrote something like when you shit your pants and you have to keep wearing them for a really long time or what have you. It's
They
disgusting.
took it and made it as gross as possible.
Yeah,
exactly,
that's the way all those Urban Dictionary things are, man. They're pure filth on the Urban Dictionary. But as you're listening to this, in a few days, we will be at Wizard World here in Nashville.
Woohoo!
We don't have to go anywhere for this.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
This is really, I am so excited about this because we've enjoyed the con stuff we've done before. We don't do a ton of it. But it always comes with the travel. And, travel brings anxiety and delayed flights, and we got stuck in the Detroit airport or something for like 4 hours
That took
watching
forever.
a damn basketball game
Yeah.
after one of these things.
a terrible basketball game.
terrible
too. It was
basketball-
like
on the
40
worst
points,
TV
like
ever.
Golden State versus the Clippers, and it was like a 40-point margin or something.
This one's in our own backyard.
Yep.
And so we decided to blow it out. And if you have not already pulled the trigger and have the means to do so, we're going to talk a little bit about our plans to hopefully push you over the edge. We're going to be at this con all 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's the 8th, 9th, and 10th of September. Friday, we will have a live podcast recording.
Yeah.
Recording this SinCast in front of a live audience that hopefully is larger than 15 people. The larger, the better. I think it's going to get frisky with, a couple hundred people paying attention to what we're saying. And we're going to have guests.
Yep.
Guests from the con. But also we're bringing Aaron Dicer in. He's going to be with us for most of these events. On Saturday, there are 2 panels, one at 1 o'clock and one at 2 o'clock. They're both 45 minutes long. The 1 o'clock panel is going to be basically a discussion about movie criticism. We're going to have Dicer on there. He's a professional movie critic. We're hoping to have a guest from the con on there to give us a perspective of a professional. And we're YouTube assholes, jokesters. So that's our perspective of film, quote-unquote, criticism. That'll be fun. And then the 2 o'clock panel is going to be behind the sins. Because
Yeah.
we like our puns. And our editors are going to be there, and our writers are going to be there, and we'll be there, and we're just going to talk about the Sin video process. So I think that'll be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Now, Saturday night, there will be an exclusive dinner and a movie thing for about 50 or so of our fans that managed to get a hold of these golden tickets.
Yep.
And we're going to have it catered, and then we're going to watch a movie with the 3 of us, Barrett, Chris, and I, mic'd up, in case we say anything funny or vulgar.
Just in case.
And this space we're doing it in is magnificent. It's a couple blocks from the convention. It's on the 3rd floor with a roll-up garage door opening out onto a balcony that looks right at downtown. It's gorgeous. We're going to have a great
amazing
time. And then all through the convention, we're going to have 2 booths on the main floor. Our Cinemasins booth where you can get shirts, or I think my book will be there, or photos. When we do signings and picture sessions, I'm doing all the talking.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, you're-
That's where we'll be. And then next to that is what we're calling our rant booth. And I really don't want to tell you any more about that because I think the curiosity is enough. And then also periodically, at least twice a day, we're going to be hosting a trivia contest on the main expo floor. This is one of the ways you'll be able to get that golden ticket to come to the exclusive dinner and a movie thing. More details to come as we get closer. But that should whet your appetite.
Yeah, baby.
I'm going to be shirtless.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
At the very least, when the people come to see the live podcast, they'll get to see us fuck some stuff up here and there.
Yeah, because
we will fuck something up. It's guaranteed.
we
Guaranteed
noticed
fuck ups.
we noticed recently that most podcasts don't do much editing.
Yeah.
And we do. We take out everything from construction noises next door to as much coughing as we can. And also when we say really inappropriate things that we ultimately don't want to put out there permanently on the internet.
Which is saying something because you people have heard the inappropriate. There's things that are worse than that we take out.
Yep. And, something like that might happen. You never know. So please, if you're in the area, whether you can only come 1 day or 3 days, or if you're out of the area and want to travel, we would love to meet you. We will be all over this thing. You'll have plenty of chances to meet us, get a picture, get an autograph, whatever, what have you. Say that this scene does not contain a lap dance, whatever's going to float your boat. But we're really looking forward to it, and it's coming up soon.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can't wait.
So today's topic, we're going to get into the movie club.
You can find me in the club.
You should join our club. You and your friend.
Now, if you're not going to take this seriously, perhaps we should disband the club now.
I love being a part of things.
Movie club!
And we're going to be talking about musicals.
We should sing this entire episode.
Oh,
yes.
My favorite musical is...
This will be our the stats that show where people are dropping off and everything. That'll be like the world record for all of it. I got through the Nature Box ad. But I could not take the singing.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna keep on. We're gonna do the same old format here. Best, favorite, underseen, underrated. Who wants to kick us off?
Well, this thing came from, I was looking at my collection of DVDs, and for whatever reason, the most prominent that my eye always goes to is 8 Mile.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I was thinking we've talked about music and film a lot, but we haven't talked about like musical films. And by that, I don't mean necessarily that somebody breaks into song, even though there are going to be a lot of those, but movies that revolve around music. And I would say 8 Mile is definitely one of those.
Definitely.
Sure.
I mean, the definition of a musical, I think what most people think of when they think musical is that spontaneous breaking into song. But there are many movies where music is a prominent feature of it, and I believe those count as well.
Absolutely.
Even though they're not going to be that spontaneous breakout in a song type of thing.
Well, something like Almost Famous or That Thing You Do, where it's not a traditional breakout into song, but there's like 6 or 7 performance scenes of different songs. I would consider those musicals.
Yeah.
Man, I love That Thing You Do.
Me too,
I just saw
man.
that again recently. God,
The
it's so
scene
good.
in the middle when they're doing Come On Pretty Baby and Dance With Me, and Tom Hanks like pumps his fist right at the musical break, gets me chills every single time.
Yeah,
Anyway.
that's a great movie. I remember, this is an aside, we're, of course, already getting derailed. I just remember, because that was his first Tom Hanks directorial debut.
Yep.
And he said that he's like, man, there's so many weird things that I never thought I would have to do as director and everything. It's like it's like there was a whole day where we were just shooting cars. We're just shooting cars. But I mean, okay, so we've got a few that I would say are probably right off the bat you would consider the best. Like Sound of Music is one of them, and West Side Story.
Yep.
Is another big one, and those are, I mean, especially West Side Story. Those are such well-known musicals. They don't. They're not. I mean, movie and on stage.
Yeah.
That it's that they transcend any kind of medium.
Yeah, same with Guys and Dolls, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you're just so used to either seeing it when you were a kid growing up, like going with a school group or something like that.
It's Guys and Dolls, not Guys and Guys.
That's correct.
The lavish Broadway musical?
Yeah, exactly.
I love Guys and Dolls. I love West Side Story. I watched West Side Story with my wife about 5 years ago because she'd never seen it. That movie is long.
Yeah, it
you
is.
forget how long that movie is because, God bless her, she got bored. Even though she liked what she was seeing, it just kind of run on and on there at the end. But yeah, I love all the music from that film is fantastic.
You could even make an argument, I don't think this is in any of our lists, you could make an argument that in the last 20 years, regardless of whether it reaches classic status or not, but La La Land has to be up there in the best musical discussion.
I would think so. I mean, it's still very recent. And you and I were just talking out in LA about whether or not we've got it in the right place.
Right.
And it's going to take time to really know, but the music is fantastic.
It is.
And like the guy who wrote all those songs is going places.
Yeah.
Man. Like,
Yeah, definitely.
He's He's the next Giacchino, maybe. I don't know. Cappuccino.
Cappuccino.
He's the next cappuccino.
All right, so who wants to start us off on best?
I've got a kind of controversial best, maybe, because it also is recent. But I actually just recently said, I think on Twitter or something like that I would put Moana and that soundtrack up there with the best Disney soundtracks.
Still haven't seen this, by the way.
Moana is only great because of the music.
Absolutely.
I think there's charm there, but without the songs, it falls apart. And again, we've got, this is Lin-Manuel, whatever, the guy
Miranda.
the guy who wrote all the Hamilton songs. And yeah, that song where she learns the history of her people.
Yeah.
And they're like, we know the way. God, the whole soundtrack is amazing.
It really is. And that How Far I'll Go song will kill me every time. Now, I'm one of those people that I really like Frozen, and I really like Let It Go. I could listen to that stuff all the time. The Idina Menzel version, not the pop version, but like
not the Pearl Jam version.
No, the Pearl. Oh, that's right, they did it. But I think this is up there. The rock song with "You're Welcome," that kind of thing. The whole thing, start to finish. I love the animation. I love Hey Hey, the chicken.
Yeah.
I think this is up there with one of my favorite musicals of all time.
Interesting.
And so I shouldn't say favorite. I think it's going to be one of the best of all time. I think it's going to be up there with Beauty and the Beast. I think it's going to be up there with any of the Aladdin, I guess, is one. The top Disney ones.
The Lion King, I think, has maybe the top spot for most people in terms of modern Disney animation movies songs. And that's because they went and got Elton John to make the songs, and Elton John's a god. And here they went and got the guy from Hamilton to make the song. And so I think it will be very similarly esteemed 10, 20 years from now, just for the music alone.
It's interesting. I mean, it really is kind of interesting you bring this movie up. I did not hear this much raving about Moana before. And it may be controversial in that way. I don't know. I haven't seen it. All I know is that, I don't know. I just know that we did a Sins video for it, and I was not a writer on it. So like that's all I know about it, and I just assumed that it was a basic solid Disney cartoon.
Yeah,
and it is.
Part of it was I had low expectations, threw it on there, and I was just going to kind of like go through it and enjoy it. But I really, really liked it, and my family could not stop singing those songs. My wife was walking around with it on her phone while she was cleaning the house and stuff like that. My son's humming it up in his room. Like, we were infected by that movie.
Yeah, and again, I think it's the music. The music outperforms the rest of the movie, but it makes the movie great. I enjoy it.
Yep.
It's good. I got to go Singing in the Rain at least.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, I think that's number one in pretty much everybody's. Like, if you got a critical congregation, that's what they'd come up with.
I think so, and I think if you love musicals, like the ones where they break out in song, this is probably in your top 5 or 10, I would guess. It just does so many things so well. Sets the mold, really, for the next several years. We're going to have comic relief guy who does physical comedy. We're going to have velvet voice lead guy, and we're going to have a girl in the middle. And then White Christmas, just because I talk about it so much, and I've seen it probably 100 times. My entire extended family watches this every Christmas, and my nephews and nieces have started quoting it now.
Nice.
Quoting it before the lines are coming on the movie. It's just a big, warm, happy place for me. And again, great singable songs. But for a modern best, I wanted to throw out South Park, which is kind of on the cusp, because they do break out into song on that. I think that's a full-fledged musical.
That's a musical.
And we've talked about that movie ad nauseum, and that Satan song.
Yep.
And again, here they went and got the classic Broadway music guy. And one of the things that this musical does so well is ape other musicals, right? Because you've got that Satan song is kind of playing on the Little Mermaid song. The Revolution song is a little bit Les Mis. But it also does something that West Side Story did really well, which is by the end of the movie, these songs are playing together.
Yeah.
Like, you get multiple counter melodies from these. You didn't realize you were listening to a jigsaw puzzle, each song as it came. But by the end, when they're all medleying together, it takes a genius to do that, I think.
Yeah, and that's Mark Shaman was the guy that helped out with the music. But when they do the La Resistance march, that's when you get the Blame Canadas and then the shut your fucking face on yeah. It's fucking gorgeous. They're in chains and everything. No, it's really, really great. I love it.
Yeah, that's one of those like chill moments when they get. I mean, it's a funny, goofy song, but like they have all that stuff going together. The Blame Canada and Tomorrow Night and all that stuff all going together and everything. God, I love South Park. God.
But it's West Side Story does that too, because they've got like the gang song at the end, but then it's like tonight playing over.
Oh yeah.
You have to plan ahead to do that kind of thing.
Yeah,
like the way Christopher Nolan makes movies. You can't just accidentally yourself into that.
Yeah.
You have to be very careful writing each of those songs. Anyway, I have much respect.
So we at the beginning of this, we talked about how 8 Mile and stuff like that could be considered a musical because all of it is revolving around music and everything. One movie that I don't think ever is called a musical, but it's so many songs and so many breaks in the movie to have a song is Nashville.
Oh yeah.
Oh, good call.
I do debate on this a lot of times. How good are these songs that are in Nashville? There are a few that are good. The "I'm Easy" song by Keith Carradine is really good.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say that's my I agree that it's probably the best one. That's my least favorite one. Just because of the context of the movie.
Okay.
He's creepy.
Yeah.
Like he's got this love triangle, rectangle, whatever it is at this point.
But all 3 of the women who are in that crowd think it's about them and them alone. And yes, it is creepy, but that's sort of awesome.
Yeah. Point taken.
But there's a lot of other songs, and Henry Gibson has one, and like
I love when they break in. They just show a snippet in the studio of Lily Tomlin singing with that gospel choir.
Yeah,
they're going nuts, and she's going nuts. She's feeling the spirit and everything. Oh my god,
yeah,
so good,
absolutely. It's this Nashville's such an odd movie.
Yeah,
it's just sort of this. It's a Robert Altman movie where it's just like a million people in it. And it's just going around from story to story and just kind of like, I'm going to pay attention to this for a while. Now I'm going to pay attention to this for a little while. And nothing's really like a cohesive story. There's like one little thread that's getting pulled through it the entire time. But all these, there's always these breaks where people are singing and all that. And it's I don't know. It's interesting. I have a weird conflicted relationship with country music. I don't generally like country music, even though I'm from this area and everything. I do love old country. And this is back in the day where it was still like older country and everything. So like a lot of the stuff in here is at least enjoyable to a point. I mean, it's not all great, but it's
the Henry Gibson character is basically playing like Porter Wagner or something like that. Little Jimmy Dickens, like old. If you ever like envision or you've seen like the Grand Ole Opry, it's these garish suits that are reflecting and stuff like that. The big sequined cowboy hats and everything. It's the snippet of time, particularly of this city that movie represents. I think is very familiar to me because I grew up right around that era. That was 75, right? Yeah. So it was a little bit after that, and it's very, very cool. I totally agree. That's a great recommend.
Yeah. So yeah, while it's not breaking spontaneously in the song and everything, it is one where there's songs all the way through it.
Yeah.
I believe the "I'm Easy" song either won or got nominated for an Oscar.
I believe so.
It won.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I dig this soundtrack overall.
Oh yeah.
So
okay, so we're gonna move to favorite.
Yeah, go.
I have
favorite.
a similar pick. It's not a traditional musical. Another maybe controversial thing. So it's Purple Rain.
Okay.
So I actually made
I
a
will
joke.
never understand your love for this movie.
I'll explain it. I'll try to explain it. I got into Prince in a big way about 10, 12 years ago. I mean, I always liked his stuff. But for whatever reason, I went back and I watched Purple Rain. And I was floored. I was not floored at all by the acting, by anybody. I was compelled by the story. The story in this movie, as told mostly through song, culminates in this gorgeous climax of Purple Rain, the song Purple Rain. And you got to be on board with it. You got to sit through some shitty scenes. You got to see Apollonia naked for a bit.
Well, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
She's Damn it. I hate naked people. She's got to purify herself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka.
Right.
But there are some great moments in this. So the soundtrack is absolutely killer. Everybody knows the Let's Go Crazy and When Doves Cry and, of course, Purple Rain.
When Doves Cry might be the best part of the movie, though. That's the one that has the most emotional and like dramatic resonance, I think, during the whole thing, because it's talking about abuse and all this other type of stuff going on.
Yeah. Prince plays a character called the Kid, and the Kid has a rivalry with Morris Day in the time. They're kind of two Minneapolis bands that are kind of frenemies almost, but they pretty much hate each other. And yes, Prince is in an abusive, his parents are in an abusive relationship, but his dad is a musical genius. I think some of this is based in reality. And his dad actually attempts suicide in this movie. And he lives through it and everything. Then his parents kind of reconcile after that, which is weird enough. But there's a moment in here, regardless of the acting, there's a moment in here where after that happens, the time have gone on ahead of the Revolution, of Prince and the Revolution. And they did their set and everything. And they're this cackling bunch of like, preening rock stars and that kind of thing. And they go by the Kid's dressing room, and Morris Day looks at him, and he knows that his band wants him to say something and like to be an asshole. And so he looks over, he's like, "How's your daddy?" And they all crack up and everything. And the Revolution go out and they play Purple Rain. But there's a moment right after that where they go past the dressing room, and Morris Day like separates himself from the group and like kind of leans his head up against the wall like, God, why did I say that? I only said that because of this peer pressure and everything. It's little moments like that kind of sell this as a movie, even though it's the performances that you want to stick around for.
Yeah, I mean, in a way more pronounced way than Moana, the music is better than the movie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I can get down with some early Prince, man.
Oh, man, it's so good. That Purple Rain where literally... It's almost a one shot of him on stage. There's a couple of shots out in the audience, hilariously 80s audience, by the way, but where he's just like, he's processing this whole thing. And God damn, that solo, that guitar solo is one of my favorites of all time. In Purple Rain.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
I like obscure guitar solos. Do you know the band Fastball?
Oh, yeah.
They have a song on, I think it was their second or third album, called Love is Expensive and Free. Have you ever heard it?
No.
And that's one of my favorite guitar solos ever. And it's kind of a slow song, but it's just got great tone. And I gravitate toward the guitar solos that have great melody, as opposed to somebody who can just shred 50 notes in 2 seconds. Yeah. Something that's melodic that I can sing along to.
Something
that one's
like
great.
Matthew Sweet has a lot of those.
Yeah, my wife actually gets annoyed because I sing guitar solos. Like if you go back and look at some of my older videos I did where I was driving around town, there's one where I sing almost the whole solo from Fish's Heavy Things.
Oh yeah,
which is like a 2.5 minute long solo, but I know every goddamn note. Anyway, that got us off track. For favorite, I'm gonna go with the classic Danny Kaye, Court Jester.
Oh yeah.
Now, probably because of my mother, most of my musical tastes in terms of musical movies run really old.
Yeah.
And so I was introduced to Danny Kaye through White Christmas, and then we started exploring I've actually got another Danny Kaye movie later in this discussion. But the Court Jester's hilarious. It's short. He's really funny, does a lot of physical comedy. But there's this one song he sings in the main hall of the king that is just lightning fast. And it's lightning fast with difficult words. So he's like, when I was a lad and was pretty and sad, when other lads giggled and gurgled and wiggled, I proudly was loudly forlorn. But it's like a tongue twister, and he does the whole goddamn thing. Awesome. I love the Court Jester. It's just got too much fun. The basic premise is, he's not really the Court Jester, but he's pretending to be. So a fool pretending to be a fool.
Right.
And it's really, really comical. Young Angela Lansbury.
Oh, yeah.
But that would probably be on my favorite list. I put White Christmas, but I already listed that for best.
Young Angela Lansbury is a mirage. Like,
she came out of the womb
in the Manchurian Candidate, she's already like 50.
It's
I
like
think.
Maggie Smith.
yeah,
Always
exactly.
been 80.
Right, and you always check out, like, every time Angela Lansbury comes up, you're like, I gotta go check and see, like, how old is she? She's like, she's born in the 20s, I believe.
Wow.
And she's still ticking, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't like the new Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, she didn't.
No, it was some cranky ass quote. It was great. I think she said, "What's the point?"
yeah.
She's also in a movie version of Pirates of Penzance because I remember seeing that too. Anyway,
Yeah.
Court Jester's good shit. If you haven't seen it,
I think this is the second time you brought this movie up. I'm gonna have to watch it.
yeah,
Watch this.
it's goofy as shit,
Mhm.
but sure is fun.
Love that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Moulin Rouge. I know that Barrett hates Moulin Rouge, but that's one of my favorites.
No, that's a good call.
I think Baz Luhrmann it's hard to like assess him as a filmmaker because everything is so over the top. And that's what Moulin Rouge is.
Mhm.
Moulin Rouge is so over the top in everything it does. The songs, the set design, the colors, all the John Leguizamo. But I love the songs in here, and I know that one of the criticisms of this movie is like, oh, Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman, they can't sing worth a lick, blah blah blah. How come I love these songs then?
I disagree with that part.
Man, I heard nothing but people who, when they hated Moulin Rouge, they thought Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman couldn't sing.
I thought he
That's silly.
handled himself better than she
He
did.
absolutely did. That was one of the highlights for me, actually, is because not only his singing ability, I think he's got a fine singing ability, but his innocence and his optimism and his like wide-eyedness is the main selling point for this movie for me.
Yeah.
Nicole Kidman, yeah, she was passable and everything, but Ewan McGregor, man, he goes for it. That
Yeah.
whole Your Song thing.
It's the same thing as La La Land. People were saying, oh, they have average voices. I'm like, well, they have good voices. They're better than average. But the problem is if you go out and get Christina Aguilera to be in this movie, then the acting and the story is going to suffer for it. Sorry, Christina. I don't think you're much of an actress.
You're going to get Cabaret, wasn't it?
You gotta
What was
She's
the
in Cabaret.
with Cher, right? Wasn't that the
What? There's some
the movie?
remake of Cabaret?
Was it Cabaret or was it? It was.
It was called something else.
It was called. What are the
Burlesque.
Burlesque.
Yeah, that's right. Burlesque.
We all see how that turned out.
Yeah. I love Moulin Rouge, and I love it for all, even with all the over the topness of it and everything. I feel like it fits that mold really well. And I don't know. A lot of times, yes, it takes me a lot to get into those like hyperkinetic and like overactive type of movies. Romeo and Juliet, Baz Luhrmann did earlier, is like that in a lot of ways. There's so much stuff that's just like, he's like, quickly, let's show this and let's show this person overacting and all that. And it's like, it's okay, we get it. Moulin Rouge, I think it's perfectly done. And yes, there are things in that even where you're just sitting there like, okay, you're just being really goofy here. But I'm always down for it.
Well, it is the one movie I think where his kinetic energy works the best. Of all the movies he's made, that's the one where it feels the most natural and at home. And at first, I was not a big fan of the idea of taking modern songs and making medleys of them and setting it in this past place. But it grew on me pretty quick. And I think I've said this before. The first hour of Moulin Rouge, I love. And then it really starts to lose me after that.
Well, that whole Satine has a disease thing is one of the things that just it does like take away from all the joy that's in that. And they don't even need that. The whole thing, the whole conflict is that the rich Duke is trying to steal. I mean, he's bought Satine for himself.
Yeah.
But Satine has fallen in love with Christian, and that's a real thing. And that's what to me is the conflict of the movie. But instead, they're like, well, none of you can have her because she's got she's got.
Guess what? Artax is dead, motherfucker.
That's right. Satine is dead, motherfucker. But I love at the end, they're doing that sort of the play and the reality are both playing out.
Yeah.
Of course, everybody in the audience just thinks it's the play. But like at the point where Christian's about to walk out of that auditorium and then start singing Come What May and everything, and it turns into that huge spectacle by the end of it. I love that to pieces, man. I love it so much.
Yeah.
I see. I'm the exact opposite with you guys. I like the second half much better than I like the first half because I think the first half is too kinetic for me. I think it's too ADD, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
In the second half, I think it starts right around when they do that Roxanne tango, which is my favorite part of the movie.
Really good.
It's where now things are starting to get actual stakes in there, and just the way that it's delivered and everything, the dance itself.
I like that Roxanne better than I like the police Roxanne.
Oh,
And I know.
No,
I love.
You got a big police fan over here.
I love the police. Don't get me wrong, but that song, the way it's done so dramatically and everything.
You don't also love the Puff Daddy sample of Every Breath You Take better than Every Breath You Take.
Fuck no.
Missing you.
I'll be watching you. They take the creepiest pedo song ever.
Are you kidding me? I love Puff Daddy in every form, especially that Godzilla song at the end, man.
Come with
hear
me.
my cries, hear my calls.
I watched that music video the other day.
Oh my god!
I watched it, man. It's terrible.
And see now that's where you get the true sacrilege. I feel like because that's Cashmere, and then Puff Daddy like hear my cries, hear my calls. I'm like fuck you.
The worst part,
Cashmere's so awesome.
Oh, the worst part is Jimmy Page played on it.
Yeah, I know.
No, don't give your tacit
they probably dumped put a dump truck out in his front yard and said, and and here's the money. He's like, all right, okay.
What was that joke we made about Brian? Was it Brian Cox being in a movie that they backed a dump truck up full of money and lube?
Oh yeah, it was Assassin's Creed.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
I think it was Brendan Gleeson.
Oh yeah, it was Brendan.
How much does it really take to get these guys who are in like 500 movies? Though I really do wonder what their salary is. A lot of times, like Samuel Jackson, obviously, is in 5 movies a year, like clockwork. Every year, how much does it cost to get Samuel L. Jackson?
I think there are people. I wouldn't be surprised if he's cheaper than you'd think, just because he likes doing that work.
Yeah.
He likes the variety of it. He probably gets paid enough from those goddamn Capital One commercials.
Yeah.
And I just read the other day, Brian Cox is in this Super Troopers sequel, but they didn't hit the funding goal to hire him. He just took a huge pay cut because he had so much fun working on the
really?
first
That's
one.
awesome.
I bet there are plenty of people like that in Hollywood. Because, you would think Samuel L. Jackson would cost Robert Downey Jr. money at this point in time, and he clearly doesn't.
I mean, if it's if it's $1 million per picture, I mean, think about how much just that. I mean, he's just like, I just want $1 million every single time. He does 5 movies a year.
Doesn't matter
He
if
got
it's the
5 million.
Avengers or Snakes on a
Right?
Plane.
Yeah. I don't know.
Did you see that Super Troopers 2 trailer yet? It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it made me laugh.
It's funny in a different way. Like they're still picking on the big dude. I forget what his name is.
I
in
forgot
there.
his name too.
But like they switch out his pants for like these high-waisted pleated pants, and he's like, "Come on, guys, I can't feel my tits."
Oh man! All right, let's go on to Underseen.
Okay, sounds good. All right, I've got to probably. At this point, it's definitely Underseen. It's 1979. It's called All That Jazz.
Okay, I haven't seen this.
Wow, I haven't seen it either.
Man,
I know the song.
This will kind of crush you. So this is about, I'll try to make it brief. It's directed by Bob Fosse.
Yeah.
But it's about Bob Fosse.
Who made a whole huge career of this in the 70s, these musical movies.
Yeah, well, he was directing Lenny, the Lenny Bruce biopic.
Yeah.
And he was staging a production of Chicago, like on stage. And if you can imagine what that was like, you're run ragged, basically.
Oh, I mean, that guy had to have been stretched so thin during that time.
So this is his character, essentially. Roy Scheider plays his character, and he's doing all this stuff, and he's living on Dexedrine and cigarettes and, like, booze and sex, basically. It's
So
a ton of sex. Yes, exactly. But, he's just going and going and going. He ends up having a heart attack. Then he progressively gets worse and worse because he's having these, like, orgies in his hospital room and everything.
Orgies in his hospital room?
Yeah, man. And so it starts going from reality to more, like, almost hypnagogic or, like, hallucinatory visualizations. Jessica Lange plays the Angel of Death, basically.
1970s Jessica Lange.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to get back to her later on. Yeah, I mean, it's just this really interesting progression. I watched it one day when a long time ago when I think I was sick and feverish. It's a good fever movie because it just gets progressively loopier, but it's super sad because he's approaching death the entirety of the way. He knows he is, and he's staging it in his head as a production. Like, this is my final goodbye, that kind of thing. And because Fosse is directing this, he has a unique perspective on it. And talk about 70s era Roy Scheider, man, top of his game. And everybody else is just, he gets a lot of like the Broadway dancers and singers in there. They do all that jazz. They do a lot of like standards. It is really, really good. It's a lot more emotional than you think, but there's plenty visually to look at too. And then the songs are just stellar. So that's a big
I
recommend.
think I have seen a scene from this movie. I remember Russell, when we were back at our Hollywood 27 days, showed me, I think, the beginning of this. Doesn't the beginning have like it's in a famous opening?
Yeah. It's, I'll tell you the song real quick. It's,
is it doo-doo-doo?
It's on Broadway.
On Broadway? Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah. It has a famous beginning, but yeah, it's one I need to see, man. I'm unfortunately very low on my Bob Fosse watching. I've seen Lenny, but I haven't seen Cabaret or all that jazz. But yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that.
It's good stuff.
I'm not a jazz fan.
Well,
I know the movie's
jazz.
not about jazz. I just wanted to point that out. I watch La La Land, and I'm just like, I could never relate to Ryan Gosling's character.
I love his reaction when she says, well, I kind of hate jazz. And he's just got this, like, I don't know whether I want to smack you or, like, yell at you or run away screaming.
You take that back. All right, so for Underseen, I'm going to throw out two. I'm going to go back to the Danny Kaye well with the Inspector General.
Oh.
Now, this is black and white. This is how far back I'm going for this. And basically, Danny Kaye and his partner are snake oil salesmen. And again, another case of mistaken identity. They end up in this town, and everybody thinks he's the Inspector General.
Is this movie old enough where they're actually selling snake oil, or is it?
I don't think it's snake oil, but it's just one of those tonics they used to sell back in those days or whatever that doesn't actually do what it promises.
Right.
Because Danny Kaye, I think in the opening, Danny Kaye has got makeup on and old man makeup, and he pretends to drink the tonic and get cured or what have you. And his partner sells it to everybody there. Anyway, the reason I want to bring this up is there's a song toward the end, a big musical number, and I'd never seen anybody do anything like this before, but Danny Kaye, in character, separates the crowd into three groups and says, you guys say, zoom. And the second group, you say, stock, stock. And the third group, you say, ha, ha, ha. And he gets them to practice. And then he starts a song and points at the groups at various times. And it's like, zoom, stock, stock, ha, 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 zoom, stock, stock, ha, ha, ha. And he weaves a song over it. And it's freaking hilarious. I love that movie. And then another underseen that I'll throw out that I just saw last week is a movie called Rudderless. It's got Billy Crudup in it and Anton Yelchin, which is the reason I watched it.
Never heard of this.
Because I hadn't either. And I'm, if I see a performance from Anton Yelchin if I see a movie I haven't seen of his, I want to eat it up because he's not with us anymore and he was really great. So the premise here is that Billy Crudup's son died like a year ago, something like that. It was tragic. He and his wife have split because of it. He's living on this boat. And he goes through his son's stuff and finds this album of songs that he'd never heard. He didn't know his son had written and recorded, and they're good. So he eventually gets up the courage to go into this open mic place where William H. Macy is the bartender. Swear to God, the whole movie, all he does is like in the background bartending. And gets up and plays this song, and Anton Yelchin's in the crowd and follows him out after, and he was like, that was really good. And basically he just starts pestering Billy Crudup, shows up at his boat with a guitar, playing the song that Billy Crudup had played in the bar. And Billy Crudup doesn't want anything to do with it at first, but they kind of accidentally duet there on the boat. And Yelchin's like, that was awesome. Did you not see how awesome that was? We have to play together. And so the next time they play together. And then the next time they play, they have a bass player. And the next time they play, they have a drummer. And next thing you know, they're the most popular band in town. And they're calling themselves Rudderless. And then the dead son's girlfriend shows up to shame the father for playing the song. You didn't write those songs. And it's Selena Gomez. What? And I was like, what the hell? Anyway, it's not a great movie, but it captured my attention. I love music. I'm an amateur songwriter. I can kind of get into looking at music from that side of things.
Mhm.
And yeah, like you guys said, you'd never heard of it. I'd never heard of it. Crazy to me that movies like this get made and we never hear of them.
I love music. I'm on drugs. Billy Crudup tie in there. On my underseen, I'm going to go with Sweeney Todd. This is a movie that I believe might be the last good Tim Burton movie and might be the last good Johnny Depp movie.
This was after Big Fish, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
This came out in 2007. I believe it made about $50 million, which is,
really?
I mean, 2007, you're talking about a decent hit, maybe. I don't think I hear people talk about this movie that much.
No.
And of course, Sweeney Todd was already a successful Broadway musical and everything. So I think most people, when you say Sweeney Todd, are going to think of that still.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe this is a really good movie. And I think this is just, I don't know. I love the songs in it. It's, creepy horror type of stuff. You don't see that much in musicals, I think it's of course it's just an off-putting topic.
Yeah. Meat pies.
They're meat pies. We're putting humans in that shit.
I've never seen this.
And
It's pretty gross.
Well, that's why I stayed away.
but it's not gross to the point of you see like real nasty things in it or anything.
No, it's cartoonish. It's in
Yeah.
between cartoonish.
But he's like a murderer, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's basically a revenge type movie.
No, that's an interesting one because that's another voice. Because Johnny Depp does his own voice, Helena Bonham Carter does hers.
Mhm.
He's got a good enough voice to pull these things off. It's
Yeah.
not like a super huge range that he has to cover, but I think it was very believable.
Yeah. But the songs are really good in it. My first actual introduction into the existence of Sweeney Todd was in Jersey Girl.
Oh yeah,
And that was a really funny scene because Ben Affleck takes his kid to see Sweeney Todd, and like there's like this violence, and there's the look of Ben Affleck like kind of enjoying this, and then seeing the big violence and his jaw dropping is one of the funniest things in that movie. Probably the best part of that movie. But yeah, Sweeney Todd. It's visually, of course, because Tim Burton is behind it. It was very unique as far as its look and everything. I think the performances and music are really good, and it's got an off-putting topic, but it's not. I don't think it's ever to the point of being gross. Where
Right.
You're just like, it is R-rated, but it's because there is a measure of violence.
I wonder how many R-rated films Tim Burton's done.
Not many.
Can we think of
Ed
it?
Wood was one.
Oh yeah.
He's done
Yeah.
maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But I love the look of this movie.
Yeah.
It's grounded. It's not Dark Shadows. Like Dark Shadow. Once after this, like he just went full cartoon, and he's got a little restraint on this one.
Yeah, it's just a perfect marriage of these performers all together and everything, and I just suggest watching it. Good. I mean, really good music in it too. I mean, even though it's about cooking people into pies, it's a. I mean, you could consider this a dark comedy.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, of course, all the people who are getting killed deserve it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those type of things. Well, so it's okay. All right.
I've got 2 musicals for my underrated.
Okay.
The movie versions of them, I think, are underrated. First one is Phantom of the Opera. So Phantom of the Opera came out in 2004, this most recent version. And I'm a huge fan of this play, just in general.
We are going to have to talk about some Phantom of the Opera. This is a very interesting topic to me. Go ahead and talk about the movie, though.
Well, so I'm really into the soundtrack. So obviously the songs Andrew Lloyd Webber. This is kind of, I guess, maybe the top of his mountain in terms of recognizability, at least. And what they had in this one, they had Minnie Driver as the diva. They had Gerard Butler as the Phantom, and that's the main drawback. He doesn't have a terrible voice.
Yeah,
I don't even know if he voices his own voice, but the main draw here for Christine is Emmy Rossum.
Yeah, Emmy Rossum is great in
this. Is Emmy Rossum. I think she was like 18, 19.
She was
something
young.
like
She was
that.
very young. I don't think she was even 18 when she did this.
Maybe not. She is absolutely perfect in this role. She's pure and innocent, has a great voice, and just the cinematography, the way that they shot this. I think, again, it's not, something that I'm going to pop on all the time, but when I watch it, I enjoy it very much. And this is kind of a description of the disparity here. It's got a 38% on Rotten Tomatoes. The critics did not like it. It's got a 7.3 on IMDb, which is by no means like astronomical,
but it's a good
much
rating.
better than something like 38%.
Phantom of the Opera, a very interesting case to me. For theater lovers, Phantom of the Opera is kind of like Armageddon for movie lovers.
Yeah.
Because and we're movie people, so we look at Armageddon as, I hate that movie. There's some things about it though that make it watchable.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's any other more apt comparison. Theater lovers tend to look down on Phantom of the Opera
As a play and as a movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this movie was directed by Joel Schumacher, which didn't give it much of a chance anyway.
Fresh off Batman and Robin?
He wasn't fresh off of it, but he still had the stink. So like this movie, I remember, I love the songs in this too. I think a lot of times people look at the subject matter and say, man, the Phantom of the Opera is a whiny little bitch.
Yeah.
And he kidnaps this girl and tells her, like, you got to be with me and stop being with this dumbass above ground and everything. And people are like, let her make her own choices. Yeah. And so it's got those type of little, I don't know, hang-ups for it. The story for it, when you break it down, even after all the songs and everything, the songs are great. But man, that Phantom of the Opera, he's a dick. He's such a dick. But I am with you on this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm with you. When the movie came out, it got the usual critical reception I expected this movie to get, with Joel Schumacher and Phantom of the Opera. I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, nobody's going to like it. Right. I remember watching this and I was like, I like the song so much, and the way this is shot is so good. I like it.
Yeah.
I could be missing something here. Like I said, Family Opera is one of those divisive type of things between theater lovers and all that. But I love the songs.
Do you like the play?
I think it's what I just brought up. The Phantom of the Opera is kind of not a great guy and everything, even though the movie and the play make him out to be the hero or whatever. Right. Of the, it's romanticizing this stalking, kidnapping motherfucker who's down in the bowels of this opera, who's like just, oh, Christy.
Which is interesting because that's almost like the theme of a lot of old operas, like the Verdis and the Puccinis and things like that.
Yeah.
So it kind of harkens back to it. The reason I asked is I think I've seen both the play a few times and then seen the movie. I think it's a very good adaptation. It's faithful where it needs to be. It diverts a little bit where you can get away with it in a movie. Particularly in that Music of the Night track where they just kind of blend it in. Oh, man, it's really good.
And that's the thing. The music is so good, it sort of trips you up on what's going on.
Yeah.
And if you actually pay attention to what's going on, you're like, this is kind of creepy.
Yeah.
But maybe that's why it's awesome.
I guess so. And real quick, I'll just throw out the movie version of Rent. Is I think underseen and underrated. Rent was the big thing in the late 90s, early 2000s. For the Broadway play, and the movie that had Anthony Rapp in it, who was the big star in that in the first place. It gets a bad, pardon the pun, rap. I don't know exactly why. It's got Idina Menzel in it. It's got some really talented performers in it.
The original cast of this is Who's Who.
Oh yeah,
like Taye Diggs was in it. You had Anthony Rapp, who his only real well-known movie is Dazed and Confused. He was in he was in Old School or something, one of those movies. What was it? No, it was Road Trip, I think.
Oh really?
It was Road Trip, where he played the asshole dean who's in love with Amy Smart, or the asshole like teachers thing.
Yeah.
By the way, at the end of that movie, she just casually calls it a bomb threat so that he can get there in time to take the test.
Oh yeah.
And the movie treats her like a hero for it. Just FYI.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that both of the ones that you brought up were they're basically based on like older material. Like Phantom of the Opera was an old French novel that was turned into a movie later on, Lon Chaney, and like a silent film that was, is considered still one of the all-time classics and everything. Not a musical yet until Andrew Lloyd Webber came along in 1986. It was a long time before it was a musical. And then this, Rent, is sort of an offshoot of La Boheme.
Oh yeah,
which is another, sort of, it's derived from.
It's like an adaptation.
Yeah, it's almost an adaptation, even though it's not the same. Rent's more modern day La Boheme.
Well, they do have the La Vie Boheme is one of the songs there, and that's one of the best scenes in the movie, by the way.
Yeah, the movie Rent. That was it Chris Columbus who did that?
It was somebody just that generic. If it wasn't him, it was one of those hires where they're like, he won't fuck this up.
It's Chris Columbus.
Yeah.
That I like Rent. It's the songs are good and everything. It's another movie that like people just kind of shat on for whatever reason. I'm a theater lover and I love this play and this musical, and how do you profane it by making it a movie and everything? I don't know what it is.
All right, so I'm pissed about my first underrated, because up until 2 days ago, I really thought I was like the only guy banging the gong for this movie. And then I saw an article about I guess they're re-releasing the soundtrack, and every single one of the comments was like, this movie's so good, I love it. And I'm like, where the fuck have all you people been for the last 20 years? And it's Josie and the Pussycats.
I still haven't seen this.
Even more so, the music is Letters to Cleo. I'm familiar with that.
Oh yeah.
And it's really good, fun pop rock. So solid music all throughout. It's just a goofy, silly little movie about basically one corporation brainwashing everyone who listens to music. So they pluck Josie and the Pussycats out of obscurity because they're three pretty girls and they're dumb and they can be manipulated. And they put all this subliminal messaging in their songs when they record in the studio that makes everybody who listens to it want to buy whatever they're being paid to shill. And I think when it came out, people took it too seriously, but this movie is not taking itself seriously at all.
Right.
Alan Cumming is in it. Everything about this movie is just really fun and goofy. And if you go in knowing they're winking at you this whole time, I think you'll really enjoy it.
This came out in around 2001, somewhere around there. It reminds me a lot that synopsis you just brought up of that Simpsons episode where NSYNC is on the show. And like how Bart and Milhouse and all these guys form a boy band. They do all the studio shit that makes
Yvonne Niage.
Yes, exactly. And they find out that the actual message that they're sending is join the Navy, and this whole thing is about military recruitment. Of course, Lisa is the one who's smart enough. Is there something wrong about this? I'm going to have to figure out what's going on.
It's kind of similar. In the beginning, the band that they're manipulating is a boy band, and it's like Seth Green and Breckenmeyer and Donald Faison, and they're called Du Jour. And they're like, Du Jour means friendship. Du Jour means... Anyway, they figure something out on this plane ride, and Alan Cummings makes a phone call, jumps out with a parachute, and the plane fucking crashes, and he parachutes into the town Riverdale, where Josie and the Pussycats live. Anyway, really, really fun. I think you'd like it. My other underrated... Well, by the way, that's 53% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That is weird, man, because I remember this being just panned by my friends and everything, but then I listened to the soundtrack and I saw the movie, and I love me some Letters to Cleo, man.
Oh, man, it's good stuff. And then the other one I'm going to do is Evita.
Interesting.
Wow.
It's just for one reason. It's 62 on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't think it's great. I think it's better than that. But this is the movie where this is one of those experiences where you realize someone's way more talented than you thought. And Antonio Banderas, God damn me, he can sing. He's got a really good... You guys are looking at me like I am crazy.
No,
actually, I was thinking about any other time where he sang in a film.
Well, maybe Desperado or one of those films.
Oh yeah,
he does sing in the beginning of one of those. But the song Another Suitcase in Another Hall, where Madonna sings "So What Happens Now," and he goes "Another suitcase in another hall," and he's just perfect for that song. And I only saw this once in the theater. It had to be 98.
was 96.
96. But when that song happened in the movie, I was like, that's magic right there.
Nice.
That whole song and scene, because they're not in the same place. Anyway, I don't think it's as bad as 62%. But again, I just said I haven't seen it in like 20 years.
I remember thinking this was going to be a huge hit when it came out because I remember the trailers were all "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina" and all that. And like I remember going into the theater and watching people watch this trailer, and there were like people singing it and all sort of stuff. I was like, "Oh, this is going to be huge," and it turned out to be a huge flop.
Yeah, it didn't do anything.
The director of this, Alan Parker, who has a really, really strange career. Like he did Pink Floyd The Wall.
Oh wow,
really?
Yeah, which you could probably fit into this in a way.
In the running, yeah.
Yeah, but he's done a lot of like really weird and like just varied. You know, he's not a guy you can pin to any one genre or anything. But I think a lot of times people credit him for the music video because of Pink Floyd The Wall.
Yeah.
So
Madonna got, I think she was like critically lauded for this performance, but I think everybody that I talked to was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Madonna trying to do Evita. But I remember her being, because first of all, the knock on her as a performer is that she can't sing. I mean, she's never been like one of those,
you take that back.
Aretha Franklin type of things. And then the second thing is that she's an imposter acting and everything. But I remember her doing really, really well in this movie.
This is I think her best performance.
Yeah.
The problem is she's just a terrible actress.
You don't think The Blank and Dick Tracy was her best?
No. Nor do I think the character she played in the baseball movie.
Oh, League of Their Own.
No, I
Desperately Seeking Susan,
yeah,
guys.
who's that girl?
Yeah.
What's that one she made with her husband that they're
Swept Away.
Swept Away.
Guy Ritchie.
I literally just watched that trailer the other day, and God, she is awful. In that movie.
Yeah, no good.
Yeah, that's where she came out of nowhere speaking the British accent. And all that.
Which she still speaks today.
Yeah.
Does she really?
No,
It was funny.
I think I've heard that she kind of every once in a while slips into that faux British accent.
I have one movie to tie into two things that you said because I love it in these movies. You said Josie and the Pussycats, where they had like Donald Faison and Breckenmeyer and all these guys in one band and everything. I love these music movies like this that have like this. They have a who's who of band members. Like The Rocker has Will Arnett as lead singer, Fred Armisen, Bradley Cooper. All these people are in this band, and like there's a point where they finally run into Rainn Wilson towards the end of the movie, and they're all like speaking British. It's like, yeah, I remember you from a few years ago before we started speaking British. All right, so am I underrated? I have Across the Universe on here.
Oh,
Okay, so it's underrated. Remember, Barrett.
Yes.
It's not great.
Yes.
I another movie that I love the visual aesthetic.
I
too.
agree.
And again, they're co-opting this time Beatles songs all the way through it. But it's another one of those where, you may not be getting too much into the story.
Right.
It's about a guy who's like Mr. Hippie against war, and then he joins the army or whatever. So all this, so they have all these Beatles songs all the way through it, and you gotta you love Beatles songs. You got the visual aesthetic. It sort of gets you into it, even though the story itself is kind of.
Did he go from hippie to joining the army because he watched that Bart performance of Ivan Netanyahu?
I think so. I think that's what happened.
This is essentially like a long music video, and it's awesome as a music video. But yeah, you're right. There's just not much like meat on the bone. It's just an excuse to get from each song to each song, which I love the Beatles, man. I'm on board for that.
Yeah, I mean, this Jim Sturgis guy was supposed to be like a big deal at one time.
Right.
I remember he came on the scene. He was that and 21 and all that were coming out, and he still works, but it's not like he was being thrust out there as this big star and everything.
Yeah, what did happen? Because 21 was a pretty popular movie.
I
don't think many people saw it.
No,
Oh, really?
I
enjoy
it. I don't think it was a big movie.
Josh Gad.
Yeah, Josh Gad. I had read the book called Bringing Down the House before I watched that movie, and I don't know. It also colored my perception of it, but I don't think it's a good movie in general,
Yeah.
even with that comparison. But anyway, I do think this is a movie worth watching, and it had 53% on Rotten Tomatoes, which might be properly rated, but it's about 7 point something on IMDb, so it has found an audience.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of those disparities, especially in these musical movies or the movies that have music in them, is where the audience score will be way up there and the critic score. I don't know what it is with critics. Do they not like musicals?
No, wait. No. It's just that the movie-going audiences are generally stupid.
Nah.
We've had 5 Transformers movies for a reason.
And
so
14 more.
There
13 more.
should be a disparity between the audience score and the critic score, because the critic is not going to be fooled by Michael Bay's tricks.
Well, I'm talking about musicals, though. And
I'm just
hopefully
saying-
Michael Bay will not do any more.
What kills me
musicals.
is that who's watching Transformers these days? Like, I mean, it obviously, compared to all the other Transformers that came out, the one the last whatever fuck came out, still made a lot of money, but it wasn't nearly what it had made before. But that's still a lot of people going to see it. So who are still really interested in watching
People
these
that
movies?
just want big dumb action.
Hey, as long as people keep squirting out kids, there's going to be some 6-year-old somebody wants to get rid of for 2
That's
hours.
true.
Squirting out kids.
That's
That's how it's done, right?
Mhm. That is how it's done.
I assume you just squeeze the woman from the top like a toothpaste,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and
Pop.
the baby comes out. I don't know. My mom was an OB nurse for years. That's what she told me. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
She didn't tell me that.
So yeah, we're gonna run down a few we didn't get to here. I did mention Pink Floyd The Wall. I think that's I don't know where I would put that. I would put it maybe in. It would be.
I would say probably at this point underseen.
Yeah, it would maybe an underseen. That's another movie that's got a lot of cool visuals to it.
Yeah, not much stories. I mean, it's
Not much story at all. It's about a musician essentially who has had hard luck in life after becoming a star.
Right.
Essentially, like
And then
his wife leaves him. He gets into drugs.
Then he does get into some sort of like communist political movement, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how much is fantasy versus reality in this context, but yeah, I mean, he's got that striking imagery of him in the uniform and everything with no eyebrows. It's crazy.
Yeah. So ya thought ya might like to go to the show. I had under my favorites, I put The Muppets, which is a movie that we should, and almost really all the Muppet movies could be under there, but I'm going to put The Muppets here, just for the super fun songs that are in that. Of course, there's a lot of super fun songs in all the Muppets filmography.
I love that one when Kermit is missing everybody.
Mhm.
He's like, was there something I could have said? Now there are only pictures in my head. That whole song.
Yeah.
Gets me.
Well, the first movie had Rainbow Connection, which
Yeah.
is a great song just on its own. And then he had Moving Right Along and all that stuff.
They were really good with the sad songs.
Yeah.
Like in Muppets Take Manhattan, you have that Saying Goodbye.
Yeah.
Why is it sad? Makes us remember the good times we had. And like Kermit's walk and like the faded faces of all his friends around his head in a halo start singing background vocals for him.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, good stuff. In my underrated, I didn't know really where to put this, but Little Shop of Horrors.
Mm-hmm.
The 1986 version. I haven't seen the older version.
Oh, the older version is fun as hell.
Is
The one with
it?
Jack Nicholson?
Yeah, the one with
it's
Jack
awesome.
Nicholson. Little Shop of Horrors obviously had the 86 version had Rick Moranis, Steve Martin. But I love the end of it where the plant has finally become fully functional and everything, and he sings that I'm just a mean green mother from outer space and I'm bad. I love that song. I don't know where to put it. I think a lot of people have seen Little Shop of Horrors. And I don't know. I put it in underrated, but yeah, who knows where to put that exactly. What else? Is there anything else that we wanted to mention?
I was going to mention The Meaning of Life.
Yeah,
Monty Python's
yeah.
The Meaning of Life, because there's a lot of music in that.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the Every Sperm is Sacred song.
Yeah.
And you've got the Galaxy song is really like the showpiece of the whole thing, where he's just like, He's walking out. Comfort yourself in knowing that we're basically a speck in the universe. And he goes into these incredible details of how big the universe is, and it's only one of the many galaxies in there. And it's so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's really funny, you remember the skit where the fat guy walks into the restaurant and orders everything and has one little mint and he explodes everywhere. But at the beginning of that scene, Eric rattles the entertainment up at the piano, and he's like, "I'd like to sing you a little song. Isn't it really nice to have a penis? Isn't it wonderful to have a dick?" And all the patrons are just like smiling politely.
Yeah. That's so good.
Love that movie.
Oh my God.
I tried to figure out a way to classify Forgetting Sarah Marshall as a musical movie, just so that we could inside.
It is about.
Well, you've got the Muppet
inside
thing.
of you. There's like 3 songs. That first Russell Brand song that you see on Entertainment
Oh
Tonight
yeah,
or whatever. We gotta do
African
something.
Child.
No, that's Get Him to the Greek, I think. Is that African
No,
Child?
it's in Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Is it really?
Right? Isn't it?
No.
Isn't it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
No,
never
because
seen Get
at
Him
the
to
beginning
Greek.
of Get Him to the Greek, that's where he went off the rails.
Mhm.
Because like the clap was his big hit when he was in his heyday. But then he did African Child, and it was that music video that was so tonally off, like he's dancing with these tribal.
Yeah.
And basically it's an apology tour for African Child. Is Get Him to the Greek.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so that's Get Him to the Greek. So the You Gotta Do Something song is what I'm
And
thinking
then
of.
Inside of You, and then the vampire.
Die.
Yeah. But it is of course about him being a composer too, and
Yeah.
you got a lot of the music interludes he's putting in that.
He's at the bar, and she's like, that show sucks. He's like, did I mention I do the music for that program? She's like, oh, but the music rocks. Like, no, it's just tones. The masturbating dog killer is on the loose again. He'll kill the owner, but the dog is happy. Bong.
I also had Jeremy briefly mentioned The Lion King, and I'm probably going to have some more to say about The Lion King by the end of this podcast. But that's another good one. That's the last one that I truly feel like. I don't know. I haven't seen Moana.
Mm-hmm.
That feels like the last really great Disney musical to me.
Yeah.
All the other stuff that came out afterwards usually are musicals. They
Mhm.
all have songs that they sing spontaneously and all that, but I don't know if there's one out of the Disney animation class. Even I don't think Pixar really does very many musicals. They have songs that occasionally come into like stuff like Toy Story.
Yeah.
And all that, but they're not musicals in any way. So Lion King's got a lot of like really good stuff in it.
Yeah, and it works really well, with the Hakuna Matata and the Circle of Life and all that stuff, and then of course the
Yeah.
because that whole it's so good. It's really good.
And then I also had and Jeremy mentioned South Park, Team America.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Team America also is a good musical.
You know what I love about Team America is the refrain from America Fuck Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you've got it may have been right outside that bar scene where he pukes everywhere, and it's like it's all slowed down. It's like America fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. But so we probably missed a few, but I think that was a good, well-rounded musical, discussion there.
Yeah. No, I think we got some obscurity in there even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So we want to talk about Nature Box today, right?
Woohoo.
Absolutely.
Mhm. We got an email the other day. From somebody who was like, usually don't listen to ads because, fuck ads. And I agree with him. Fuck ads, because usually it's just people reading copy, right?
Yep.
Or they add a fuck or two in it and it's awesome, right?
Yeah.
but we go in and we say, look, we've used this product and I love Nature Box stuff. I mean, the stuff is really good. We've actually tried it a bunch and it's amazing all the time.
We've tried a ton.
What did this guy say, by the way?
All right, so I'll read just a snippet from this email. I'm emailing you. This is from one of our wonderful servicemen in the military in America here. I'm emailing you to talk to you guys about your plugs for Nature Box. Originally, I was annoyed by the plugs as I hate ads. Okay. We cut our cable and pay extra for Hulu and YouTube Red so we get even less ads. I listen to shitloads of podcasts, so I don't have to listen to ads on the radio, too. That's the dedication level. All right. But then the ad became more conversational and less advertisement-y. Nice. Then Jeremy would talk about anecdotes about the unboxing, and you would all talk about your favorite snacks. I thought, why the hell not? I'm currently deployed in the Pacific, and I thought that a subscription service snack delivery would be dope as shit. All right. So I pulled the trigger and ordered me some Cinemasins favorites. He sent us a picture, and thanks to your recommendation, I avoided the balut. Look it up and let me know what you think. And had many tasty snacks. I look forward to going home and continuing my snack fest with the wife during our own unboxing. Or saying, fuck it, we'll get our own snacks. So thank you, Cinemasins. You're the best. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, well, there's an ad hater, and we turned him around.
That's right.
We turned him around by the charm of our personality and the true, honest deliciousness of these snacks.
Exactly.
In fact, so we're about to do this Wizard World Nashville convention coming up, and between now and then, it's about a week away, I've got a ginormous nature box coming, and I'm thinking about setting aside some of my favorite snacks and bringing them to the convention and doing like a giveaway for fans or passing them out to the first row so everybody can have some cheddar sourdough pretzels or something. Maybe we'll make some more disciples.
Yeah, I actually have the same. Like it's coming on Monday or Tuesday. So I may do that too. Yeah. I went jerky crazy on this most recently.
It's easy to go jerky crazy.
It really is. And then we got the white cheddar and caramel popcorn, which is always just a classic. We got the vanilla bean wafers.
I got those. I love those.
And I got, for my son, I got these like organic chocolate animal crackers. And he flipped out. He was like, is that for me? And I was like, yeah, man. He was like, yeah.
Wow. It was gone in 5 seconds. Yeah, I don't know anybody, Jeremy, that likes pretzels more than you do.
Yeah, I love them. I'm a pretzel guy.
You like everywhere we go and there's pretzels, that's what you're getting.
Yeah, I'm a pretzel guy.
So how do these sourdough pretzels that they offer, how do they stack up?
Okay, so here's the deal. When you enter the world of pretzels, you're entering a diverse, vast world.
Yes.
The king of the pretzel food chain is the soft, warm pretzel.
Yes.
The likes of which you simply cannot get from a ship-to-your-door service.
No.
It's not going to be hot if NatureBox, even if it's hot when they send it, it's going to be cold by the time it's on my door. And then you've got your supermarket pretzels. You got your basic, you could do your sticks or you could do your little twirls or what have you. But then you get into flavor country, right?
Yeah.
You get all these, you can add cheddar to it or you can add mustard to it or what have you. And so what these aged cheddar sourdough pretzels do for me is combine 3 of my favorite things. Pretzels, cheese, and sourdough. Like, I just, whenever I go to the supermarket, I'm looking for bread. I'm always looking at sourdough first. It's just one of my favorite breads to eat. And so you basically combine 3 of my favorite things into this one. It's not just a pretzel.
Right.
It's not just a cheese. It's not just a sourdough. It's all 3 together that produce this very distinct, unique. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like I said in the ad on the video, it's like they raided God's pantry. It's like like eating awesome.
Yeah.
It's my very, very favorite thing to get.
Well, we've given you a lot of options. You can actually get the snacks that we get if you go to, and it's really important to go to naturebox.com/SinCast. Go to that URL, and that way you're going to get your first 3 free snacks with your first order. And that will blow your mind. Just enter the promo code SINS, and you are good to go, baby. You're going to be snacking. It's going to be beautiful. Let us know how they are, just like our listener here that sent us an email. Good stuff.
Yeah, I really enjoy when people send me pictures on Twitter, show me what they ordered, tell me what their favorites were. Every now and then, NatureBox will chime in on Twitter and say, glad you liked it. Those conversations are always fun.
Show us your nom-noms.
Yeah.
If you need to.
That's right. That's not dirty.
Show us your nom-noms, wafers, and...
That's right.
Show us your stars.
Although
Show us your stars.
I've got to say, I've been biting my lip this entire ad because we've said so many things that could be dirty, and I did not go there.
It's hard.
It is.
Anyway,
yeah.
Go to naturebox.com/SinCast. Enter the promo code SINS. 3 free snacks in that first order, man. It's
Join
awesome.
the revolution.
So do we want to get to questions?
Oh, I would love to get to questions.
Let's get to questions.
Question. I got something to say. I want the truth.
I am listening.
So the first
I
question.
want the truth. I got something to say. I'm listening.
This question is from the person that submitted that NatureBox email, by the way, and thank you for for doing that. And for this question, I've been a cable cutter since 2012. When we started, Netflix and Hulu had all kinds of things to watch from all the distributors. Now, with companies like Disney and CBS making their own distribution networks online and pulling their stuff from the main source, like Netflix and Hulu, it's becoming harder to watch good movies. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? There was a lot of text after that. It was like, you guys rock.
Well, I think the market will self-correct.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the market can sustain 20 different proprietary streaming services like CBS's and Disney's and yada, yada, yada. I think it will self-correct back in time. The problem for average movie lovers, and what he's sort of pointing out, is I can't pay Hulu, Netflix, Disney, CBS, Fox. I can't pay all of those people.
Mm-hmm.
And if I just choose one, I'm limiting my options. And to that point, I sympathize because it's just it is what it is right now. Although I think this question is written in reaction to the news that Disney was going to pull their stuff from Netflix. But they immediately, the next day, Netflix got them to sit down and they're negotiating to keep, like, it's either the Pixar movies or maybe the Marvel movies, some major element of it they're negotiating to keep. And Netflix, I don't know where they get it from, but they fucking burn cash.
Yeah.
They're not going to run out. I think the long term, the way I looked at the question was sort of digital versus physical, right? Like, and music pushed us in this direction. I haven't bought a CD in God knows how long, right? And I buy movies because we are a movie related YouTube channel, and our process necessitates that we have a physical copy. But I remember reaching a point about 6 years ago that I was like, you know what? I don't really care if I own it or not. I don't, as long as I can listen to it or watch it whenever I want at the drop of a hat. I don't care if it's sitting over here on my wall or in the custody of Netflix. Anyway,
that is an annoying thing, though, is when you're looking for a movie, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate. You go to Netflix. Netflix probably doesn't have the movie. You go to Amazon Prime. Sometimes they don't have the movie. They have it, but you have to spend an extra amount of money, even though you're on Amazon Prime and you're already spending $99 a year for that. I usually can find it on Amazon Prime if I can't find it on Netflix. And then Comcast, if you've got like a cable company or something like that, they also have a selection of free movies. I've done this a bunch of times where I've gone to Amazon Prime, I found the movie, and I'm like, okay, I'll rent this for the $3.99, whatever. It's no matter. I want to see this movie. And then I go and find out, could have watched it for free on the cable service.
Yep. Yeah.
So there's 3 different things going on there. There's all these different things, and the problem is with all these different services having all sorts of different things is that, you do want to watch something that's not on Netflix or something. And we're seeing so many of these companies branch off and trying to make their own content. The one that was called CISO is going to be done by the end of the year because they could not generate enough money for the stuff that they're doing. And they were just a comedy channel or whatever. And we're seeing all these streaming services do that. There's too much. It's too much fragment out there. And you'd like to have that one-stop shop, or at least I don't have to go through it, go through 3 or 4 different services.
Right.
And it's the way things change. I mean, there are always articles every week about here's what's leaving Netflix this week or whatever. I don't pay attention to that a lot.
No.
I mean, most of the time, if I want to see a movie, I'm not going to go to Netflix probably because it's not going to be there.
Well, and we're in a unique position. It's kind of hard for us to answer this from the perspective of the listener because I've been in that room next door and Chris has 8,000 Blu-rays. And I have 1,000, which is enough. If I want to watch a movie, there's a very good chance I already own it. But that's not what the question asker is talking about. I think it sucks the more it fragments, and I do think the market will self-correct. It's just going to take a few years. You can't sustain for all of them.
I mean, you've got this kind of trade-off of whether you want ease of use versus competition, because at this point we're getting to a point where all the cable companies, it's basically Time Warner and Comcast, maybe RCN in different places, but it's 1, 2, or 3 options for cable. and everybody keeps buying each other too. Same thing with internet providers. But, it's kind of nice. It's kind of refreshing that we don't have one conglomerate that owns everything in this particular space. But, it's like Google, Yahoo, AOL back in the day. It's going to end up one way or another. I mean, it's going to homogenize. Yeah. And that's for better as far as, the customer experience. And it's probably for worse in terms of, who gets a seat at the table.
And everybody else is playing catch up. Like Netflix has tens of millions, hundreds of millions of subscribers. If Disney wants to start their own service, well, Disney's got millions of fans around the world, but they're still starting from zero.
Yep.
And so you have to have a return on the investment, and, broadband video hosting is not cheap. It's part of the reason Netflix is burning so much money. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah.
Next question. What are some of your favorite films that are seen mostly or completely from one character's perspective? I like this answer so much. In Children of Men, Clive Owen's characters are an entire reference to the world in which he lives, and the camera always focuses on his point of view. Now, I had not thought about that. Even when you see Jesper meet his end, you see it from his perspective. There's no cutaways to just like a random scene with somebody else. Mm-hmm. That's very cool and gets us thinking. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I thought about this long and hard, and I might even be wrong on a couple of these. The first thing that came to my mind was I Am Legend. Mm-hmm. Now, it helps that he's basically one of only 3 human characters in the entire movie anyway. But there's not really any scenes in that movie except for the very, very final scene, which is terrible, that he's not in and is not the main focus of. And so we're seeing everything from sort of his perspective. And I also thought about The Matrix. Mm-hmm. Now, we do get that scene with Cypher and the agent, but once Neo enters the story, I think he's pretty much in every scene.
He is. I mean, the whole confrontation between Morpheus and Agent Smith, obviously he shows up in the helicopter later on.
Sure.
That starts off with...
Oh, I guess you're right. Them. Yeah. See, I mislabeled that one.
But I think by and large, it's totally his perspective because it starts off obviously with him being
It is because you, just like him, don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
You have no idea. And so it's not like in the beginning of it we see some scene with Morpheus and Trinity going, we're going to have to get this guy out of his thing. Then we know, we know more than the main character does and everything. So I think it's basically him. I mean, that's what the question says. It's mostly from their perspective.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of scenes that are away from Neo in this, but not enough to really.
All right, good.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Taxi Driver.
Ooh.
And I like Taxi Driver's perspective from one person's point of view, because not only do we see what he sees, we also, by the tricks of Scorsese, see how he perceives it.
Yeah.
There's a scene in this. There's not anything. I don't think there's anything overtly racist in Taxi Driver. We know that Travis Bickle doesn't like black people. Mm-hmm. And it's just from one little scene where it's just black people in a diner. Mm-hmm. And it just goes over to him and he's just like looking at him like, I wish I wasn't here right now.
Yeah.
And it makes, the movie itself makes no comment. You just see what he sees. And it just, we see we see his loneliness, and we see like the way he perceives he needs to be a hero. Like he wants to do something, but his heroism has negative aspects to it. One moment he's, and sometimes he thinks being a hero is like, for instance, so he's one moment of heroism he thinks is to kill this political candidate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He thinks that is the best thing to do in his mind, that he wants to do to whatever. But then on the opposite of that, he goes and kills a whole bunch of drug dealers and child prostitute peddlers and all this other type of stuff. Still, even when he does that, you're like, man, it still gives me some bad feelings and everything. I just like that perspective of it, because
it makes sense in his head.
Yes.
When you're that alone, you start doing this self-confirmation of what you're thinking is correct. And that's, to get off on a tangent, that's what social media kind of reinforces. But if you're by yourself and you start thinking in a certain way, you start consuming media in a certain way, and it's a confirmation. And if you don't have anybody to check you on that, then you can have whatever beliefs that you want, and there's no challenge to it. And so if you get on a particular line of thought, like being a hero, then it's just going to keep steamrolling towards the end.
I haven't really ever looked into this, but I'm guessing he gets the idea to kill the political guy because of Sybil Shepherd, like, turning him down in the middle of the movie and everything. And he's like, well, I'll show her, I'm going to, kill this guy.
But even in that, and keep coming back to it, but the reason that he takes her to the porn theater is that he thinks there is absolutely nothing wrong with this.
He thinks it's romantic.
He thinks it's romantic. These are movies that I go to see. I don't know if everybody likes them, but he doesn't have any sort of frame of reference to say, like, that's fucked up, dude.
Yeah. And that's why I like it so much is that his view is very skewed. He's our protagonist, but he's definitely not a hero in this movie. And we get to see how he perceives things, and that's why that movie's so interesting all the way throughout.
I'm going to go pretty literal on mine in Cloverfield, where it's shot entirely from dude's perspective.
Basically T.J. Miller.
Yeah, it's T.J. Miller. What is his name? Chud? I was going to look
Hud.
Yeah,
Hud.
Chud. I'm pretty sure in 7th grade that was a wicked insult. You chud.
Chode was the insult. Chud is the movie about like cannibalistic human something. Anyway, the perspective is from this guy Hud, and it's literally he for better or worse. There are some ridiculous times where he should not be pointing a camera in these dangerous situations, but obviously we need it for our purposes. But yeah, I mean it's very cool. Of course, found footage at this point has become a cliche after Paranormal Activity and Blair Witch before this. But I like it when it's used correctly, and I think in this case it is, because there's a limit to what you can see, and if this guy is not directly looking at it, then it happens off frame, or if it that kind of thing, and you're left with your imagination to fill in the blanks. And I think that's a really cool method of perspective. Now, I guess at the end of it, at the very end, he loses that perspective when he sees the monster,
right?
But the movie kind of cheats a little bit with those interspersed little cuts of dude with his girlfriend and everything. But I think that's a cool use of one perspective throughout the entire narrative.
Yeah,
good call.
Yeah, definitely. I also had a couple others that I wrote down. One movie that I wanted to bring up, because this is sort of a cheating answer, but I don't know if you guys probably haven't seen this Audrey Tautou movie called He Loves Me, He Loves Me Not. There's two halves to this movie. One half is from her perspective. She seems to be having an affair with this married man, and he is not paying any attention to her. He's like, he's completely basically ghosting her or whatever. And you're like, what a dick that guy is, and I hope she gets out of this situation and all that other type of stuff. The movie rewinds, and then it goes from his perspective, and everything you thought you knew is completely different.
Interesting.
So it has two perspectives, but it's really essentially one per half or whatever. If you wanted to fit
I want to see that. Is it the exact same dialogue, exact same, or do they play it out?
There will be the same dialogue, but with different context.
Oh, that's cool.
And I think it's a really well done movie. It didn't get much, I didn't get much of a play here. I think I saw it at the Belcourt or Green Hills or something like that. But it was a really interesting movie because especially Audrey Tautou coming off of Amelie, which is another movie you could probably put in this list. Coming off Amelie, you tend to sort of, care about her and think that, she's our protagonist of this movie and everything, and that this dude's a dick. And then when it goes to his perspective, I think it's a really interesting look. So anyway.
I like that idea.
Greetings from Sweden.
Hello,
Greetings.
Sweden.
Hello, Sweden.
Yes,
that's exactly.
I'm such a racist.
Can you give me an example of a horrible edit or an entire movie that takes you out of it and almost ruins the experience?
Okay. I had to think about this for a while, because the thing is, most of the time when a movie is horribly edited, it's a horrible movie. So
That's true.
therefore, there's nothing there's nothing there to ruin. It's already bad. And, it's not by the end of it. Well, that movie was terribly edited, but I loved it, or anything like that. Now, the question also puts in the frame of mind like a particular edit in the movie takes you out of it. The movie Citizen Kane has one of these edits.
Oh.
Now, obviously, Citizen Kane's a masterpiece, and I'm sure there's been much said about this one scene I'm about to bring up, and people are going to tell me it's genius, and it brings world peace to everybody. If they go to some vacation spot,
Right.
Now,
with the entirety of their village.
right? Yeah, they're like, yeah, exactly. They got like a huge amount of carriages going down this beach or whatever. I think the transition to that is this squawking freaking parrot or something.
Oh,
And
where it
it's-
goes across the
and
screen.
yeah, like there's some really just crazy sound. And it's just this bird that squawks, and then they go on to that.
Yeah.
I believe that Orson Welles is trying to make a statement about Susan Alexander's screaming in this whole thing.
Wow.
I do believe that's what it is. If that's the case, it's even worse than I imagined.
Yeah.
But it's just a really just shockingly
Comes completely out of-
ridiculous transition. And the whole movie doesn't have anything like that. And so it comes out of nowhere. It makes your ears bleed. And I think it's also making a statement about this woman who's making some very valid points, although she is, annoying in the way that she's doing it or whatever. I feel like it's a statement that he's making. And I'm like, I don't really like the statement you're making.
Nice. Well, there's a lot I could go with, but I'm gonna stick with Planet of the Apes, the original.
Oh my God.
Which we just sinned. And there's a good handful of wonky cuts in the first 30 minutes of this movie. But the big one is when they're on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
We even wrote a sin about it in the Sins video, because Heston is basically just standing up, and it cuts to another angle of all three of them, and there's no fucking way he could have gotten across in between the two of them.
Yeah.
And it's one of the only times we've written a sin about a cut being weird, but that's also a great movie that I love, and that cut definitely takes me out of it. Thankfully, it happens in the first 5 minutes, so I'm not really that into it yet.
It seemed like that happened a lot in these movies back in the 60s and 70s. Actually, if you look through the history of all these older movies, they always had these weird cuts where somebody is, the continuity cut where somebody's got their hands down and then it cuts over and their hands are up, or they're facing a different situation, different position and everything. But especially in the late 60s and 70s, where they were fascinated with these weird zooms.
Yeah.
Where it's like they didn't have it really on center, and they're trying to center it and zoom it at the same time. And that's what that also has in that scene is not only is Heston completely in a different position than he was in the previous shot. It's just that it's like whoa, and then it's zooms in. It's just it's very off-putting.
Yeah.
You can make a case that, The Avengers is a very good movie, but that whole fight scene at the end with the Battle of New York is just edited and chopped all to shit.
Yep.
Mine is for a movie that we just watched recently, Shrek 2.
Oh, yeah.
Shrek 2, a lot of people like this movie. I have no idea why. There's no story to this whatsoever. It's just a bunch of cultural references, fart and poo jokes, and a little semblance of a story. And Antonio Banderas. By the way, that's what I was thinking about when I was thinking about the last time I heard him sing. Because he does a version of Livin' La Vida Loca.
Oh, that's right.
And his verse is very nice. His voice is
even though the song choice is awful.
Exactly. But there's literally, there's an "Are we there yet?" thing that feels like it takes 12 minutes to go through. It's just repetitive and it's just annoying. So movie's got time for this. Now it's 82 minutes without credits. There's a point where Shrek and Donkey and Puss in Boots find out the plot. They know what's going on. They have to tell Fiona what's going on. And the fairy godmother comes out and she starts to chase them. And all of a sudden, what could be a really interesting chase scene, some meat on the bone in this movie, they cut away to something completely different. They cut away to the ball, the celebration. And then it cuts back to the king's knights like taking over and like arresting them via cops.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the cops
a cop spoof.
type of show. And it's all, that whole cut was just to get that fucking cultural reference in there. And which is dated as hell at this point.
In 2004, it's dated.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, fucking, are you serious? Like, you've got time for all of this bullshit, but you don't have time to show us how this actually goes down and make it make sense. And I didn't like that movie overall, but that one drove me nuts.
Especially since they show that Fairy Godmother can like go from one place to another and like
she's
lightning
all-powerful.
quick.
Yep.
And you know, why does he even need to arrest him?
Yep.
Like, why doesn't he even need the knights to arrest him? Yeah, that's a good one.
Fuck that movie.
Yeah,
Fuck it.
exactly.
Speaking of fucks,
Yeah,
All right.
as you know, PG-13 movies are only allowed one fuck, with some exceptions. That being said, what is your favorite use of fuck in a PG-13 movie? Mine is probably X-Men First Class, when Wolverine tells Xavier, "Go fuck yourself."
that is a good one.
That's a great one.
Yeah, that's probably the best one. You know I'm partial to the Martian one, so fuck you, Mars. But I wrote down Adventures in Babysitting.
Oh yeah,
You remember this movie? Everyone in school was quoting this one line when the gangster said, "Don't fuck with the lords of hell," and she says, "Don't fuck with the babysitter."
yeah. Got a knife drawn and everything.
Yep. And that was my choice. Now, watch, that movie's rated R, and I just didn't know it.
I'm
but-
pretty sure it's
No,
PG-13, but it got 2 fucks out of the way in that one. It's one of those rare, like it got borderline, you know, I'm sure there was discussion as to whether that was going to be an R-rated movie or not.
I'll bet.
Because once it gets to once you get to that 2 in a row like that, you know.
It's so silly that we're even having this conversation.
I know.
I mean, I like the question. Don't get me wrong.
Well, it's
but
like, why does one fuck give you PG-13 and then like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, where it's just one scene where he says it a bunch, gives it an R rating, like as if, you know, your impressionable children aren't going to know that word by one. I mean, they're going to know that anyway from being in school, but like that's going to make the movie not. You can't watch it just because it has more.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Once you hear the word,
Once you hear it twice, oh God!
Once
no.
you hear,
is out of the bag.
yeah. Once you hear the word once, you know what the word is, and you think it all the time.
That's all you can think about.
That's right. There's days that I've wasted where I'm just thinking of the word fuck. Okay, so this movie's not very good, but I love the delivery. It's in The Longest Yard, the remake with Adam Sandler. There's a point where one of the players gets like just destroyed on the field or whatever, and he's like, he says something like, "I've got a bird. His name is Ronnie," like whatever. And Chris Rock comes. It's like one of those like overhead shots or whatever. And he looks like he's like, "Well, you need to tell Ronnie you got knocked the fuck out." And it's just the way he says it is so well done.
There's some good stuff in them. Obviously, the original is really good, but the Terry Crews cracks me up in that.
Oh yeah,
Because they're talking about like cheeseburgers and hot dogs. He goes up to Adam Sandler. He's like, "You're being a real McAsshole right now." One of my favorite parts about like storylines going through Anchorman is that he'll read anything on the teleprompter.
Oh yeah.
And I'm Ron Burgundy.
Yeah.
Like somebody put a question mark on the teleprompter. He'll read anything that's in front of him. And then, of course, I don't know exactly how this comes to fruition, by the way, because I don't think it's Veronica Corningstone that actually does this. It almost looks like it's one of the women in the office.
No, Veronica Corningstone does it.
She definitely does it?
Yeah, she just gets the idea from the other.
After somebody, well, yeah, from the other women, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, at the end of it, he's like, "Go fuck yourself, San Diego."
Yeah.
And he doesn't know he's even done it.
Yeah, he's like, "It's a good show."
This
He's like shuffling papers around.
It's funny, when you brought this movie up, I was like, I could have sworn that movie was rated R.
Yeah.
Especially because after that scene, he's like, "I would never say fuck. I would never say fuck." Like he say it a few times.
But that's a deleted scene.
Is it?
Yeah, because I've seen it. I don't know if on my DVD if it plays it because it's the unrated cut.
Mm-hmm.
If it just like includes that in there, but in the in the theatrical version, that's a deleted scene.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I totally did not know that.
Yeah.
I've seen the Blu-ray version of it so many times
Right.
now that I was, I felt like that was already in
There's
there.
also that great Bruce Almighty F-bomb
Yeah.
from Niagara
Oh,
Falls.
that is
Back to you, fuckers.
Oh, that is fantastic.
So, and it that joke doesn't work if he doesn't say fuckers.
Yeah.
It's not as good. It has to shock you.
Man, that is one of my all-time crowd reaction things to watch was Bruce Almighty during that scene, because he's out in fucking rainy ass Niagara Falls, and like he's being told that he's not going to get this anchor job, and so he goes around asking all these questions. Let's ask the old lady on the Titanic what she thinks about all this. He's like, what do you think? Oh, why didn't I get the anchor job? He's just asking the woman, what do you think I didn't get the anchor job? Is it my whatever? I don't remember what he says. And then that whole thing, back to you, and he's got that fist that he pulls.
Yep.
Fucker.
And I love the cuts to Jennifer Aniston's girlfriend character just watching it, because at first he freezes and she's like, say something, and then he starts talking and she just arrives.
That is a great one.
What are your favorite dark comedies?
Mm.
Now, this is an interesting one because I think it's maybe too narrow of a focus for a traditional movie club.
No.
Although we could rattle off a few.
I was looking into this and I was like, man, there are quite a few that I'd like to name here, but I'm going to go with a movie I've talked about 1,000,000 times, and it's Election.
That's a good one.
It's probably my favorite dark comedy there is. Another movie where your protagonist is not such a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, I can't say enough about Election. I know that a few people out there are going to be like, you got to talk about Harold and Maude. Well, I've seen Harold and Maude. I saw it 20 years ago. I don't remember much about it. I do remember that I liked it.
Mhm.
Harold and Maude generally considered like the apex of those dark comedies and everything. And it is very good movie. And I also had Dr. Strangelove.
Yeah,
and
that's the darkest comedy.
yeah,
man.
yeah, it very much is.
When you're joking about nuclear war,
Nuclear holocaust.
Nuclear holocaust.
As Denzel Washington says in Crimson Tide.
yeah, man. I mean, that's no joke.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It's they do it in a brilliant fashion,
So
obviously
great.
in that. And then I also American Psycho, I think, is a good dark
good call.
comedy.
Good call.
So
Is this technically a comedy?
it is.
It has to be.
It's for sure.
That whole business card thing.
And
that's
him talking about Huey Lewis and the whole history of like where he became popular and everything, I mean, that Huey Lewis thing is hilarious.
Oh yeah.
The part also where the guy like gives him his card and he gets so jealous of the card. There's that line, that casual, there's no good bathroom to do coke in here. There's
I feel like if we do enough,
yeah, it's a dark comedy.
I have trouble with Bret Easton Ellis in defining. I guess that's a good thing. Defining like Less Than Zero, I guess is supposed to be a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Rules of Attraction is supposed to be a comedy.
Yeah, Rules of Attraction is extremely dark comedy too.
Right.
I mean, that came on the other day. I was sitting there watching. I'm always forcibly drawn to that movie.
Yeah.
I come to the conclusion there's not a single good person in that movie.
No, hell no.
Definitely not.
Like, there's a bunch of protagonists, but they're all shitheads.
Well, yeah, Shannon Sossman is shown as like the
closest.
the angel, but she really isn't.
She's still blowing her professor.
Yeah.
It's not like she's innocent.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nobody really redeemable in this
Who
movie.
was her friend at the end that kind of sits with her?
Well, I know her roommate's Jessica Biel.
Jessica
but like,
Biel's her roommate.
Right, yeah, and
But-
she's not very good either. But yeah, man, yeah, Dawson is not very nice.
No,
and-
everyone's an asshole.
he's probably the worst
Yeah.
of all of them.
He
And
probably is.
the Ian Somerhalder character is
Yeah.
like living in his own mind,
Yeah.
essentially. That friend that comes by that you brought that scene up, it sucks cock.
Yeah.
he's annoying, but he's funny annoying in the movie.
I love hearing that because I saw that recently too. That whole rundown of that European trip.
Oh,
yeah.
It's so monotone, and it's just like I met this girl at the Louvre. We got along really well. Started kissing. We fucked.
Yeah.
She sucked my dick, and I did this, and then like, God damn.
Well, I'll go with The Cable Guy. I really wanted to find a dark comedy I love that I haven't talked about a bunch already, but I just came up with Arsenic and Old Lace and The Cable Guy.
Nice.
I would probably be just as drawn to Election as you are, but I'd say The Cable Guy is probably my favorite.
They both have
dark
Matthew
comedy.
Broderick. It's good.
That's right.
There's a connection right there. Everything in that movie just gets me the right way. And it's Jim Carrey dark. It's why it wasn't a hit. People weren't ready for that, and maybe they still aren't.
Well, I remember watching it the first time. I think I brought this up on the podcast. The first time I watched this, I did not like it because I didn't know what it was trying to be.
Right.
I didn't know if it was trying to be comedy or if it was trying to be a thriller, and of course it's both.
Yeah.
It is showing how dark and lonely this guy, another effective loneliness happening with this guy. I watched it a couple more times, of course, later. Now I know this movie front and back and everything. I mean, it's really well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's early Ben Stiller genius before the world was ready for it.
Yeah.
My all-time favorite dark comedy, or one of my all-time favorite dark comedies, would be American Beauty. Because that movie's got such bits of humor in it, typically coming from Kevin Spacey, but from other places too, that I just love it. It's so subversive. Anytime like you watch it, you'll see a new angle that they're going for. I think that's why there was the backlash after the Oscar win and everything, but people didn't know what to make of this movie because you've got a traditional type of thing with Annette Bening and all that stuff, and then you've got this story that Lester Burnham goes through, which is so just odd and creepy at times, obviously. But one thing I wanted to mention, it's not one of my all-time favorites, but it is a lot of fun. It's Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
Also came out in 1999.
Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah, so it's made by it's made within like this the mockumentary type of format, like a Christopher Guest type of film.
Not as good as his films.
No, I mean he's the master at that. But
it does have its moments.
It does, and the way that it's got a little bit of Heathers sprinkled in, it's got a little bit of like Best in Show and that kind of thing, or Waiting for Guffman sprinkled in, and the way that the suddenness in which these girls are being killed.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is that one is like the front runner at a beauty pageant in Minnesota, and you have this up and comer from Kirsten Dunst who's like, I'm just going to try it. I want to be like Diane Sawyer. And few by few, these girls keep getting offed. No, it's a lot of fun. Denise Richards, Kirsten Dunst, and the mom is played by Ellen Barkin.
Yeah.
And Kirstie Alley's in it too. So there's a lot of good, Brittany Murphy's in it. There's a lot of good people in it.
Well, that's another one. When you brought up Heathers, is another one that would be perfect for this.
Yeah. Are you looking forward to the TV show?
No.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, you could mine some interesting stuff.
I'm looking forward to the TV show slightly more than I am the all-female version of Lord of the Flies they just announced.
Yeah, what the fuck was that all about?
Directed by two guys, or written by two guys.
No, seriously about the female Lord of the Flies, okay?
Yeah.
That somebody was in a room and they said, you know what we haven't explored in a while is Lord of the Flies. Let's make it all women. And let's make that shit. There is some movie out there. There's a script for some. There's probably several scripts for movies out there that are great.
Yeah.
That they're not putting any money towards.
Yeah.
They look at the last two Lord of the Flies movies that came out, which were not hits in any measure, and they say, well, if we add women, this will just be a huge boffo hit.
I don't know.
And there's got to be how many hundreds of scripts out there right now that they won't put any money towards. And Lord of the Flies doesn't exactly have like some amazing name recognition that you're going to get everybody to come out and say, come on.
But the author himself has talked about how masculinity is one of the main themes of the book and how toxic it can be.
Right.
Without any men, there's very little masculinity on this island.
Yep.
Now, can you explore women tearing themselves apart in a small society on an island? Sure, you can. Should you?
Yeah.
I don't know. Should you call it Lord of the Flies? Definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it sounds like it sounds almost already like an exploitation movie. Like it's going to be like a bunch of women in bikinis.
Well, I saw somebody on Twitter say that they're making it women so they can put them in skimpy clothes on this island and draw out the teenage boys.
There you go.
What the fuck?
It's not going to
Rinse,
work.
repeat.
Sorry, I can already tell you right now, not going to work.
No.
All right, well, that'll do it for this episode of the SinCast. We're gonna bring people to iTunes now, right? Or what are we gonna do?
Yeah, okay. So we've got many platforms. I know you guys listen to us on lots of different apps and things like that. Go to SoundCloud. That's fine to comment for the time being. We've got something new and exciting that we're going to add as far as an interactive experience that's going to come out soon. So stay tuned for that. But the most helpful thing that you can do for us is go to iTunes, regardless of how you listen to us. Go to iTunes and click subscribe if you haven't already. It kind of helps us know who's listening and that kind of thing from episode to episode. So it'd be really helpful. And the most helpful thing would be to tell a friend about us, tell a family member about us, tell somebody that's into movies and comedy and cloaca and things like that that they need to be listening to the SinCast. And spread the word. Click subscribe on iTunes. It would really help us out.
Yeah. But yeah, keep going to SoundCloud, obviously, giving us comments and everything there. I love the interaction there. And we obviously have a variety of ways. Yep. Email. Somebody was complaining about our email the other day, right? You said
they were going through. So our email address is in the show notes here. So if you just go to whether it's iTunes or SoundCloud or whatever, at the bottom it'll give our email address there. Cinemasins, sincast@gmail.com. Go to that. It is a little difficult to find on our webpage, so just go through that.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Sher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
What are your summer?
It's like that episode of Friends where Chandler knows he makes a bad first impression because he tries to joke. So he goes to an interview and the guy's talking about all his duties.
Yes.
And Chandler holds it together. But then at the end, the guy's like, you did great. Well, we're going to get along great. And he was like, oh, good. It was really hard with that duty thing. And the guy goes, duty? And he's like, poo?
Have you guys seen Death Note yet?
Nope.
No.
I didn't know.
You're the only person on the internet that liked it.
I guess so. I didn't know anything about it, really. I'm kind of aware of the manga that it was based on, but like, I just watched it as a movie because I like Wingard and Simpson did the storyboards.
That's the thing, though, right? A lot of the negative, a lot of times, comes from the fact that it's not what they expect from the manga or whatever. So.
Well, because they're all white. Not all of them are white.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. I mean, Dragon Ball Evolution, like, that movie's not good. Don't get me wrong. It's terrible. But I feel like most people who really hated it, it was more about, it's not like Dragon Ball that I grew up and knew and loved.
It's the same thing with Avatar.
Yeah, same thing.
Airbender.
Yeah, Last Airbender, same thing. I mean, that movie's awful too, but I mean, they're all awful, but the more of the criticism isn't that it's awful, it's that it's just this or that.
Yeah.
They changed something.
Yeah.
You know.
I'll tell you what, though, Lakeith Stanfield, man, he's awesome.
Is he in Death Note?
Yeah, he's like the primary
I love
detective.
That guy. Mm-hmm.
He's fucking... he's so
I love that guy, man.
What's he from?
He was Snoop in Straight Outta Compton, and he was. Did you see Get Out?
No.
He's in Get Out, and he's also in Atlanta, but you may only know him from the Straight Outta Compton because
I was watching part of that yesterday.
Yeah, he plays Snoop in that.
It's a really watchable movie.
Yeah, it is. Every time it's on, I seem to flip over to it. But like, but yeah, he's really good as Snoop in that. But he's got a lot of varied in Atlanta, man. He's so funny in that. He's just some druggy dude who's like really weird and says some off the wall things and everything. He's just great. But in Get Out, he's one of the first guys that gets abducted in the movie, and then
you all know what these motherfuckers do out here.
Yeah, and you see him in the trailer. He's the guy with the hat who's at the party, and he starts, he
has the roll credits moment.
Yeah, he does.
Get out. But yeah, that's crazy because in Death Note, like, he's this hyperkinetic, like, genius at solving things, and like, he's always sitting in weird places. He's like mainlining candy and shit like that. He doesn't sleep. It's really, really cool. If you take it, you go in completely unknowledgeable about it. Willem Dafoe's really fun in it. He's the monster that I don't know, does stuff. The girl is really cute. I thought it was fun. There's a lot of leaps in logic, but I thought it was a fun one.
Yeah,
just funny.
Well, and if I watch it, I will definitely be going in without knowing anything else because I've only heard of Death Note, and I know that it's one of those anime type things that people love. But
I mean, we saw Ghost in the Shell, the original,
mm-hmm.
and then it did bother me, the whole Scarlett Johansson thing.
Yeah,
like there's millions of eligible actresses that could play that part, and it's not like you have to really emote in that part. It's not like it takes like gravitas.
Right.
Like she's a fucking robot looking for her soul or that kind of thing. Like the whole point is to play it as a blank slate, which she did.
I understand why they do it. They want to have a name actor.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's necessarily we want to have a white person in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we want to have a name actor to do this. And I don't know. Ghost in the Shell is a hard sell right off the bat. I don't know why Scarlett Johansson makes people want to go. And obviously it didn't.
Yeah.
You know,
Maybe they were looking for some of that Lucy magic because Lucy was terrible, but it made more money than people expected.
There's a shot in there that looks like it could be from Lucy. Like where she's going down the hallway. It's the John Wick / Lucy scene where she's breaking out of something and she's kicking ass because she's got these superhuman abilities just like fucking Lucy.
yeah.
Fucking Lucy.
I fucking hate that movie.
I know.
Yeah.
So aggressively stupid.
Angry at that movie.
Mhm.
Fucking Luc Besson, man. Has he
That was
dated
a
her?
No.
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 Not that we know of.
I feel like
We can't prove that they never dated.
Let's make up our own Rule 34, like we were talking about before. If it exists, there's porn of it. Let's make up one that says if they've worked on a movie together, they fucked.
yeah, apparently so, man. I mean, look
yeah.
at Darren Aronofsky and fucking Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah.
Aronofsky does tend to, I don't know, he has a pretty good track record of
There was
dating.
even rumors when they were making Black Swan that Natalie Portman's baby was Aronofsky's, not Benjamin Millepied's. Now, they've stayed together, her and her husband, for so long, you dismissed those rumors. But there were rumors that they were fooling around during that movie.
Apparently he.
I mean, was it? I think it was him and Rachel Weisz after The Fountain, and
Was there something with Jennifer Connelly?
I don't know. Probably.
Yeah.
I think they probably did ass to ass.
Yeah, definitely did that. That was, they had. He said we have to rehearse the scene.
Look, I'll get in there with you.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I'm not afraid. I
never
will
ask my actors to do something I'm not willing to do myself.
That's right. I will get down and dirty.
Give me that dildo. It's
That's
going right up my ass.
Oh my God.
Mother's got some good reviews so far.
Yeah, well, it's funny as this is a headline I saw last night. I shit you not. The first screenings of Mother have happened. Here's what Anthony Bourdain thinks.
I did see that Anthony Bourdain tweet.
Like, what the fuck? He said it was awesome, but, why him?
Yeah.
Why is that the first opinion of this movie that I'm reading?
Yeah. No kidding.
It's delicious.
Here's what Anthony Bourdain thinks.
Well, it's like when, what was it, Lone Survivor came out, and there was this big thing of, like, every poster had, it was when when Grantland was huge, and it was like, the quote was, the best war movie since Saving Private Ryan, Bill Simmons, from Grantland. And literally, that was, I think I had been to, when did Lone Survivor come out? Like 2013? It was in Chicago. I was in O'Hare, and they've got movie posters and all that stuff. Every one of them said, greatest war movie since Saving Private Ryan.
And it ended up just being kind of okay.
Yeah. So we should trust the sports guy for our movie knowledge and the food guy for our stuff.
Yeah, Rachel Weisz and Darren Aronofsky did date for a while.
Did you like The Fountain?
Man, no. I know people who love it though,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't seen it since it came out.
I'm in between. I don't love it, but
It's
I think
a movie
there's
that
a
I'm
lot
gonna have
there.
to look at again. I don't know. I didn't like it the first time I watched it, but it's also another one of those movies I watch late at night. And
That's a bad movie to watch late at
it's
night.
extremely bad movie to watch.
It's kind of like a Cloud Atlas type of thing.
Mm-hmm. So
different time frames.
it kind of does have that feel,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't it? Yeah. I know some people who love it. I haven't gotten to that point yet.
Save it for later.
Yes.
Was that a Harvey Danger song?
Save it for later?
Uh-huh.
No, that's some 80s song, wasn't it?
Sooner or later.
it's an
I think
80s.
Harvey Danger did a cover of it. Then.
Oh, yeah?
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay,
Not
so
originally
now-
Harvey Danger.
Now I'm just going to have to look it up, guys. I'm sorry.
It's like one of those British bands like XTC or something.
Yeah.
Simple Minds.
The first thing that comes up is Aaron Carter. We know that's wrong. Let's see.
Poor Aaron Carter, man. I heard an interview on the radio, the local people interviewing Aaron Carter, and he was all about like, man, I'm putting all this, because he came out as bisexual, I think, something like that.
Said he lost his girlfriend because of it.
Yeah, and they were like, they could tell like it was a big get for them and everything, and they were, asking him appropriate questions and that kind of thing, and he was flighty and stuff like that, and he sounded a little bit weird, but he didn't sound like drunk or anything. And then as soon as they hung up, they immediately started making fun of him.
Ah!
And I was like, fuck, man. What the yeah.
That's harsh. I mean, what do you got?
Is this it?
Yeah.
This is it. This is English Beat.
English Beat? Yep. That's
I
right
told you it
around
was some kind of British band.
English Beat. What was their big hit? Was
The
that
one
their
we
big
just
hit?
looked
I think that was the
No.
one, wasn't it?
I think there was one more that was pretty popular. See, it came out with like Stop the World, then Melt With You. That was modern English.
Mm-hmm.
I could have sworn English Beat had
Oh, they were called The Beat, but in North America, the English Beat.
it.
That's funny.
Interesting.
Hey, reviews are out for Mother. Let's find out what the lead singer of English Beat thinks.
Although if you're in the UK, The Beat.
I intrinsically trust whatever the lead singer of English Beat tells me.
It's my go-to, man.
That's right. Mirror in the Bathroom.
Mirror in the Bathroom.
That's the song.
Mirror in the Bathroom. And 311 did a cover of that. No, Goldfinger.
Yeah.
Goldfinger did
Yeah.
a cover of it.
Mm-hmm.
311, Goldfinger. They're all fucking
Right.
around
They're all the same.
They're all shitty. She was like, I'll totally do it. It's like the cherry thing is where Kramer's like, I'll bet you $10,000. He's like, I'll bet you $100,000, and I guarantee you won't do it.
Who doesn't want to wear the ribbon?
You never do anything for me. You never do anything for me at all that really mattered to you.
And all that.